up, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I am trying to type and talk at the same time. We had some technical difficulties here today, and I know you've heard that on many shows before us, but legitimately, we were struggling. But we're here.
Just
Welcome,
like the Minnesota Vikings, we struggle in the biggest of moments.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be one of those episodes. I can feel it in the air. Welcome. Episode 593. We're covering the 2024 wildcard round between the Rams and the Vikings. If you didn't hear already, the Vikings had a very poor performance, and their season is quickly over. It's a sad day if you're a fan because it's frustrating, but there's a lot to cover today. I want to save the game for a little bit later. There was a little bit of news today. Jalen Redmond, who was a pretty fun, shining moment of the season, underrated player, he signed pretty quickly. They took care of that.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe he was the highest rated player on the defensive line from Pro Football Focus for the Vikings.
Nice. That's a good surprise.
So let's start there. I like when in all of the darkness in that terrible game the other day, there's some light after the season is over. After the emotions settle, the dust kind of gets in place. You're like, okay, what's something positive? And it's small. Maybe you don't care about a little transaction like that, but it is something positive. I liked everything I saw from Jalen Redmond, as I know you guys did. That was fun. I'm glad that happened today.
Well, the Vikings also signed a bunch of players to futures contracts, but there isn't really a ton of notable names on there.
Oh, nice.
I think Brett Rippon was on there.
Brett Rippon.
Nice.
Yep.
We need to address a lot. Yeah. We're going to talk about all of that. It's going to be one of those shows. Brett Rippon. Who else, Adam? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I don't remember a lot of notable names being on the list.
Lucky Jackson.
Lucky Jackson was on the list.
He's back. He's a guy he's interesting. He's a good developmental prospect, and that's really what your practice squad is for, those developmental guys that you want to hold on to. So
yeah, those futures contracts, that's exactly what they're for. It's for those kind of guys to make sure you can bring them into camp.
Yep. Brett Rippon, hey, he's a good kind of training camp arm, preseason kind of guy. So I like that signing as well, too. I'll look him up, and I can get the list for us if you want.
So I got kind of a weird question for you guys. I was writing an article over on the Viking Age earlier this week about pending free agents this offseason. And I looked on X, and Adam Schefter had said that Harrison Smith was a free agent this offseason, and everything I found about his contract did not show that. So I'm kind of curious, did you guys hear he was a free agent, or did they take that contract? I know there's an out in the contract after this season. Did they accept that, or is that a thing, or what's happening there?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm looking it up on SpotTrack now.
Yeah, because Schefter usually ain't wrong, so I was kind of surprised because it contradicted everything I looked up.
You know, the more and more he and these other guys, they have to tweet and put stuff out so many times, the more I'm seeing it's a lot like free throws, and they're not 100%. They're really not. Yeah.
Did you see there's some
a void year in 2026, but it still shows that he is under contract next year. There's a potential out for 2025, 1 year, $8 million.
Right, but I don't believe it's been exercised.
Right, I don't see that either, and it's a 9.5 dead cap hit unless he retires, which if it ends up being his last one, I hope he does, because that'll save money on the cap, and he'll call it quits, and they'd still have.
But it also puts Minnesota in a real bad situation for the defensive backs, because you'd have him retiring, you got Bynum that you'd have to either pay quite a bit for to keep or let walk, and you got like 3/4 of your cornerback room that are hitting free agency. It's going to be rough.
Well, you really got to hope that Lewis Seen is able to step it up and, oh, wait, never mind. I take that statement back. That didn't work out the way it was supposed to. No, for Harrison Smith, I feel like he's leaning towards retiring.
Hey, it might actually work out for Lewis Seen, though. He might get a Super Bowl ring this year.
Oh, God, don't say that.
Where did he sign?
He's in Philly.
He's in Philly?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate him now even more than I did when he was a bust for our team.
Yeah, he got signed to Philly off the Buffalo practice squad.
Oh,
Is he practice squad or active roster?
Active roster.
Holy cow! I don't like that. You ruined my night, Adam.
Yeah, he could get a Super Bowl ring
hopefully
if they
not.
make the run.
I hate it so much. I'm rooting for the Los Angeles Rams the hardest in our conference. That and then the Commanders right behind them. But I don't want the Lions nor Philly to win the Super Bowl. I'm done with both of those teams.
I
So,
keep going back and forth whether I want to hope for either the Ravens or the Bills to win. I'm not
Yep.
sure which.
I'm pulling for the Bills. I like the Bills. I could pull for the Ravens too. I like Lamar Jackson, so
I text one of my friends who's a diehard Commanders fan, and I said, "Hey, the list is as follows: Go Commies, go Rams, go Bills, go Texans, go Ravens." I absolutely motherfuck the Kansas City Chiefs, the Lions, and triple motherfuck the Eagles because that city's full of trash. No, I don't want any one of those last three teams to win. I'm sick of. I think we're all like pretty Kansas City Chiefs out. Like we just got out of the Patriot era a few years ago. We don't need that
how
again.
how are sports fans? How are we so fickle that you just immediately get over a dynasty? Like, was it always this way? Like with the
I don't know. When I was
49ers,
younger, I was that way with the Chicago Bulls, so I don't
was
know.
it was it that way with like the 49ers back in the 90s where people just like, "Oh man, I'm so tired of Steve Young, fucking Joe Montana." Like, was it always that way, or
I'm
is this
sure
like
it's
a
probably
new
not
trend?
in Kansas City, but for 31 other cities to be, yeah, I mean, I don't want to see the same thing every year because you want to have hope your team's going to do it, and they're annoying. They're like, they just keep coming back. And I understand you're witnessing greatness, but it's not my
Yeah.
team, so I don't care. I'll just be honest about it. Wes, I don't know if you see it, Adam, or if it's just my computer, but Wes is frozen on mine. I can hear him, but his screen is frozen. Is that?
Oh no, he's all good by me.
Okay, it's just my computer being weird. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm sick of the Chiefs, and it has nothing to do with not liking the player, the coaches, and the fans. Like Philly, I hate their fans more than anything. I respect their GM, and their football team is really good. Their coach is
They've assembled a real good roster.
yeah, their coach is definitely a douchebag, but it's just their fans. They're just horrible people, and I hate
I'm
that.
glad
And
to see some of them getting what they deserve.
yeah, 100%. And then if they're the Lions. I won't root for a divisional opponent ever. I won't do it.
What is it with so many Packers fans jumping on the Lions bandwagon? I've been seeing it all over the place.
Weird. That's
I
really
am
no, I
not seeing
can't
it
do
with
it.
Minnesota fans, so I don't know if that's a thing that other Vikings fans are doing, but I'm not seeing it.
I can't root for a divisional opponent, especially not in the postseason. I can watch a game with anybody, but I can't hope that. Man, I hope the Lions get a Super Bowl for the Vikings. Absolutely not. No,
No.
never in my life. Well, what else can we talk about before we dive into this terrible game and the abyss that is being a fan of this wretched team?
Well, I do want to loop back a little bit to Harrison Smith because I do think that potentially we just seen his last game as a Minnesota Viking. It feels like that he's leaning towards retirement. Now, you never know. He is still in phenomenal shape. He had a really good season for the Vikings still, too. He playing at a high level. So you could make the case to where you give him the veteran benefit of the doubt and say, look, you can skip training camp, you can skip preseason. Like, if you show up week 1 and you still want to play for the Vikings, sure. But it kind of does feel like he's leaning towards retirement. And if that's the case, man, hell of a career. Bravo for Harrison Smith.
Oh yeah, Ring of Honor for sure.
12
Yeah.
years in Minnesota, Adam, is that correct?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's either 12 or 13. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, Ring of Honor for sure. You can make a case for Hall of Fame, I think, for Harrison Smith. And I'll say this too. Like, dude, like, I low-key would not hate it. I wouldn't hate it if next year, if he came out of retirement to play for a contender that's not Minnesota. Like, that would suck. But, like, dude, if he wants to chase a ring, I wouldn't hate the man for it.
I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of wording it. But, yeah.
Let me just bring up my first comment. Oh yeah, well, let's look at that. Keep your heads up. Oh, sorry. I'm I think Kyle and I are doing the same thing at the same time.
Uh-oh.
I want this to come off my screen. I don't know why that's a thing. There it is. Yeah, we're still figuring this EV Mux thing out. Sorry about that, guys. I'm with you guys. Harrison Smith, Ring of Honor for sure. I don't think he's first ballot Hall of Fame because the ring isn't there. And, I told us, shout out to my best friend Greg. He's like, I don't know. Yeah, he's got the numbers as Polamalu. I said, no, he has better numbers than Polamalu.
Polamalu has the ring, though.
But, he's got championships. That's always going to trump most. Like, I don't think any of us look at Eli Manning's whole career and go, man, that guy really impressed me. But to be quarterback of a team that beat the undefeated Patriot team and then 4 years later beat them again, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that I consider him first ballot, but certainly projected him into it over a guy who I think was a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers. I think he was a better quarterback, but if you're going to put one in or the other first, it's probably going to the guy that won 2 Super Bowls. I don't know.
I think you're right with that you can't tell the story of the NFL without talking about Eli Manning. I think you can do it without talking about Phillip Rivers.
You're right, and that's partially why I would lean Eli is because the accolades and the trophy case and all that. But, man, there is something to be said about longevity, and stats are a good testament. They're not the whole, pie of the pizza, but it's a good chunk of it. You got to have the stats.
While we're talking about that, how about the whole Jared Allen thing? Do you think he'll actually get in this year?
I'm hopeful.
He's a finalist.
It's been 3-4 years he's been a finalist, so I'm hoping this is the year that he finally gets in. Yeah, he's truly deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and I don't think that's just me being biased talking about one of my favorite Minnesota Vikings of all times. He was truly a dominant player at his position. So yes, I think Jared Allen belongs in the Hall of Fame. Also, I want to see the bust. I want to see the bust with a mullet. That's
as long as they don't pull a Dwayne Wade on him, right?
Oh God,
that was awful.
Nah, NFL Hall of Fame busts are usually top tier. Like they do, whoever does those does a great job with it.
I know, but I couldn't resist.
This is hard because when you think about all of these players that are up next year, 25 players still under consideration are, and I'll go through them real quick. Eli Manning, Fred Taylor, Ricky Waters, Anquan Bolden, Torrey Holt.
Ricky Waters, really?
Yeah. Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne, Antonio Gates. Offensive line, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Richmond Webb, Steve Winniski, and Marshall Yonda. Defensive backs, Eric Allen, Rodney Harrison, Earl Thomas, Darren Woodson. Linebackers, James Harrison, Luke Keeley, Terrell Suggs. Defensive linemen, Jared Allen, Robert Mathis, Vince Wilfork, and Adam Vinatieri. It's tough, man. It reduces to 15 finalists. So who are you going to kick out of there? Who are the 10 people behind you in that list? It sucks.
Here's the thing, though, man. It's tough every single year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why these guys are in consideration for the Hall of Fame. So you just have to bite the bullet and just, if he is, put him in. Like, you just have to do it.
Yeah. He's right on the fringe of that.
Make him wait again.
He's on the fringe of that. There's 25 players under consideration and only 15 finalists. So he'll be right around that 15 number.
Can't they just, why does it... I always question things. Why does it have to be 15? Who decided it had to be 15? Can't we have 17?
Is it like an apartment complex? We only have so many rooms. You can put in as many people as you want.
This is a completely arbitrary number that someone decided upon that it had to be 15. It does not. Just put in the people who deserve to be in. Put in Jim Marshall. I'm going to go back to that rant too. Put Jim Marshall in the Hall of Fame.
Andrew asking the hard-hitting questions here with an Aaron Hernandez joke.
He's gotten more movies and stuff on streaming networks than anybody else, so why not?
That's a good point, Adam, but I wouldn't call that a point of pride. The acting in those movies are dog shit. It's so bad.
Did you see the Gronk actor?
Yes. Yes.
Apparently that's Gronk's friend in that too, and they were just having a good time.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. What?
You're not missing anything, Kyle, but it's kind of the thing where you have to see it because it's so bad. It's just terrible. It'd be like hiring you and I, and they'd be like, "Hey, you're going to star in a football movie. Can you run a route real quick?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, sure." And they'll be like, you'll say, all right, well, when do we film? They're like, no, we're just going to use what you just did. And you're like, what? That's filmed in the movie? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. They're like, no, it's not fine. Like, no, it's dog shit. We're keeping it. Thanks. It's real bad. Yeah, it's funny, man.
Were you guys able to catch the pressers today?
I did watch Kevin O'Connell's press conference.
That perfect segue, Adam. Let's talk about it, because Twitter is in shambles over what Kevin O'Connell did or did not wear, and I have to go on a full heated, like, and hey, disclaimer, you've heard me curse on this channel before. I'm not at work. I'm not getting paid to do this, so I'm going to swear. If you have kids, I'm sorry. There are going to be F-bombs and whatever else, but we have to talk about this. Adam, you did the segue. Please lead this conversation.
Today was the press conferences from the Vikings head coach and GM, and the discussions were interesting to say the least. I thought that it was great that they came out and they both kind of like said, okay, JJ McCarthy is the guy moving forward. So I'm really interested to see if there is any interest in bringing back Sam Darnold, and I don't see it being a situation where they pay him to be the starter. It sounds like they're in on JJ McCarthy, and I don't think they're going to pay him what he could make on the open market to be a backup this year.
Okay, we're here on it, so we might as well talk about it. I'm trying to keep like structure for the show, but we've never done structure on this show at all, so this is kind of perfect. I think with the last 2 weeks of the season, week 18 in the wild card, I think this is a low-hanging fruit here, but I think Sam Darnold kind of played his way out of getting that Tua Tagovailoa or Trevor Lawrence deal anywhere. I think at best he's looking at Pittsburgh or Las Vegas or New Orleans or something like that, and it's going to be a Baker Mayfield-ish deal where it's 3 years, it's a little cheaper. I think the best fit for him and option for him is to stay in Minnesota. I'm not sure that Minnesota wants him to stay. And I have lots of praise for him in this season this year, and I will have it later. But to your point,
he
Adam,
exceeded all expectations.
100%. He's a good quarterback.
Well, other than those last 2 games, of course.
and you know what? We can shit on him and whatever else because he had terrible. I think the Detroit game was worse than the LA game, if I'm being honest, because 9 sacks. At some point, it's on you. But God, Detroit laid the blueprint, and LA was like, "Hold my beer, we've got this too." And it's just like you can't overcome when the match of personnel and the coaching is just better than yours. You can't overcome it.
Andrew's got an interesting thing there talking about tagging Darnold. I still think there is a good possibility that Minnesota does take Darnold and try to trade him.
Yeah. I could see a team with money doing that. And that would be great for the Vikings.
I know that's more of an NBA thing to do a sign and trade, but it happens in the NFL too.
Well, the Vikings they need to find a way to do that because they need draft capital, and that would be wonderful. That would be the best case scenario at this point. 3 weeks ago, we were like, fuck it, Sam Darnold, well, he can ride for another year, JJ can sit. And after these 2 weeks, like, hey, I hate being that guy, but it's a 1-year rental, man. And he, like you said, Adam, he exceeded all expected. What was it, 35 or 36 touchdowns? Amazing year. But unfortunately, those last 2 games really soured a lot of people. And I think it kind of showed, like, hey, this kind of answers your question. Sure, you could commit to that and try again, but I think with the cap space they have and the amount of people that are going to leave this team, according to free agency and contract and stuff, I think it's smart to try to roll with the protege who kind of had a redshirt year by default because of the injury.
I do find it a little hard just to believe that JJ McCarthy is going to be, ready to go and a capable starter, but you never know if you don't kick the tires. And, if the GM is willing to put his stamp on JJ McCarthy, you got to kind of go for it.
Yeah. And I'm answering Andrew's that too. He says, oh no, what if you don't get any takers? You say deuces, man. Keep Danny Dimes as a backup or you go get a cheap backup. You have to.
Daniel Jones is a free agent too, and whatever he gets signed, Minnesota will get a compensatory pick for, and that's essentially what they did there, was that they traded salary cap for a potential draft pick, and I could see them doing a similar thing with Sam Darnold.
I like it. If they had enough picks to where it wasn't as big of a glaring deficiency going into the offseason as they do cap space, this team would be in great shape. But they're going to have to do a little bit of budgeting and a little bit of hey, we need to the bills are coming up, we need to save and kind of conserve for Christmas. You start talking about it in July or August. That's kind of what the Vikings have to do. They have cap space. I'm looking at it here.
But you got to remember, though, that cap space has got to kind of stretch around a lot, and whatever they do, They got a lot
Correct.
of corners they need to re-sign. They got, got to make a decision on Cam Bynum. They want to try to improve the offensive line. They got to re-sign a running back. This team is not full the way it is right now. They have a lot of spots they got to fill up.
For a 14-win team, they have a lot of restructuring to do in the offseason, and they have a lot of positions that they have to address, which is typically not something that you see from a football team that's won a lot of games. Usually, if you win a lot in the NFL, I feel like you've got that core nucleus of talent like locked down, and you're kind of just supplementing to it. And the Vikings are in this odd position of, we did really good the previous year, and we're going to have potentially a lot of turnover coming into the 2025
offensively, it's not too
season.
bad. You got those wide receivers. You got a decent tight end room. I'm sure they'll sign Johnny Munt back.
Right.
And then even tight ends will be fine. But, I mean, running back's really the only real necessary thing on offense. I would love to see that offensive line get beefed up a little bit.
I think that offensive line is going to get absolutely blown up in the offseason, Adam. I mean, you listen to Kevin O'Connell after it was either Detroit or the Rams game, I think, where he kind of called him out on getting manhandled out there on the field a little bit. And that, to me, just speaks volume for the direction that he would want to head in, where you have to get bigger, you have to get more physical at the offensive line. But like you said, it's difficult because there's so many holes out there on defense, particularly in that secondary, at that corner and at that safety position that you have to address.
And you've also got this offseason the projection that Brian Flores might be the next head coach of the Jets, so who knows?
The Jets or the Chicago Bears, I mean, you don't know. He's getting interviews out there too, and that's a big piece that you have to wait. You almost have to wait to see what happens with Brian Flores, because who's your next defensive coordinator? What players do they want? You don't want to get crazy and sign guys that fit his scheme and his system if your next coordinator maybe would use them in a different fashion.
Right.
I didn't want to interrupt you guys. You guys jumped in, but that was my point I was getting to, Adam. Was if the team was as rich with picks as they are with money, we'd be in a great position, but they're going to have to conserve a little bit because the scale isn't even between lots of cap space and lots of picks. You remember in previous years, like the last decade, there was that one draft where they had like 12 picks, and now it's the opposite. They have a shitload of money, but they don't have a lot of picks, so they've got to find a way to do that. I've been talking with Andrew in the chat saying, well, if you tag Darnold, you got to pay him. It's like, yeah, I understand that, and if there's a compensatory, or if there's a package of picks that makes sense to the Vikings that's worth $40 million to them, go do it. But at this point, if Kyle Smith is managing the Vikings, I'm not signing him at all. I'm saying, I'll see you later, man. I got to figure out what we're going to do with this 70-some mil because, to your point, Adam, there are a lot of emptiness here. I disagree with you. I don't care about running back nearly as much as this interior offensive line has been neglected for damn near 2 decades now. And I'm going to be mean about it because I can be, and I'm upset that they lost yet again. Not surprised, but I'm still disappointed. Garrett Bradbury, if that's your standard, you need to highly look in the mirror and be like, we could do better. I love him to death.
The problem is, going into the season, we knew who Garrett Bradbury was.
Correct.
So it's not like he disappointed. We knew who he was.
Correct.
Now, Dalton Reisner, I thought he would be an upgrade to Ed Ingram when they plugged him in, and to be honest, I am not sure I saw that, and I'm not sure what kind of mindset Ed Ingram would be in to even return as a guard in this offense.
Yeah,
and Blake Brandel, I thought moving him from the outside inside would be good for him, but he really struggled at left guard.
You just named 3 guys that if they go, and I'm not, and there's no hurt feelings about it.
It's weird because I am criticizing them, and I know it sounds like I'm just poo-pooing on them. Like, hey, they've been average to slightly below average starters, and that's fine because you can't have all pros at every position. But I personally, and I know maybe both of you feel like the interior line has been neglected by multiple management and tenures on this team.
Yeah,
they've had good tackles almost back to back, but damn, the interior line is where they go cheap, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
Can you take the left tackle that we traded for from Jacksonville and slide him to guard when Darisaw comes back?
You know what's kind of fun is that Cam Robinson is a free agent, and if he gets signed somewhere, Minnesota could get a compensatory pick for that, and he is bound to get like a $10 million deal probably somewhere.
He's good, man. He did fine filling in. He's obviously, it's not Darisaw, but he did fine. I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah.
But here's the other point I wanted to make. We as fans, the whole NFL, and this kind of ties into the Kevin O'Connell thing I want to talk about. We as fans get so quick to just jump off of everything. It's going to be a lot like the Chargers next year. And it's real, like, they did fine. They overachieved this year. They got bounced in the wild card, so this seems very similar. They got a good coach, a lot of pieces in place, but there's still some things where they need to fix. You're not going to fix this team in one draft. So even if they overhaul, let's say Bradbury, Risner, and whoever's at left guard, or right, whoever the other guard is gone. You think we're going to replace them all with like blue chip players? It ain't happening. So you got to be patient with it again and hope that they at least get one of those. Like, okay, we figured that out. Now next year we can hopefully nail this, and then maybe for 5 years we'll have a nucleus. But it ain't going to get fixed in one offseason. So I want to say that to preface, keep your expectations for the 2025 Vikings just like you had for this year, and say about 7 wins for right now. I don't know how the draft and free agency is going to go. It's going to be rough, man. There's going to be a ton of changeover.
You know, something kind of wild, though, is that if Minnesota does have a season like that, 7 wins under J.J. McCarthy, are people going to look at McCarthy as being a failure compared to Darnold?
Absolutely.
And that is
Absolutely.
a shame,
That's what
because
we're
it's
gonna
not the case at all.
It's so weird, man. You can't have a terrible rookie year. Like, I wonder if any Hall of Fame quarterbacks ever had an awful rookie year. Probably not, right? Definitely
Probably not Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Guys like that who are one of the best quarterbacks ever. And I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy's going to be Peyton Manning, but it's so funny how Jared Goff said it. And I think he's a great example. I think he's the epitome of what a franchise quarterback is.
Yeah.
You got to ask either this year or last year. He's like, hey, how long should teams give a quarterback to judge whether he's good enough to be a franchise, like their guy or not? And he said 3 years. Most NFL teams are like, I'll give you 3 weeks, dude. Go be Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes or get the fuck out. And like this year, they were going to kick Bryce Young out of Carolina. Like, I wouldn't have drafted Bryce Young because he looks like an elementary school kid. I think he's way too small. But they were ready to they're ready to run Anthony Richardson out of Indianapolis. Like, bro, he hasn't been there 2 years.
That Bryce Young benching might have been the best thing for him.
That did turn around, which is nice, but man, the consensus was at the time was like, get him out of here. And it's like, you just invested it. Like, number one, what are you doing? Give him a chance. Especially Carolina, because they've had a lot of turnover and not a very great roster. But anyways, can we
It's
segue
crazy that
into
Carolina had both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield on their roster and let them both walk.
And even better that both of them walk. Now one of them's in the division now, kicking their ass every year, which is hilarious.
That's kind of great.
So let's transition that, because you mentioned it. Like you did. It's a good segue, Adam. Is the Kevin O'Connell thing you brought up? You brought up the pressers. The internet, and this is where I'm going to curse from earlier. The internet brought it up today, though. Kevin O'Connell didn't have any Vikings gear on. He wants to go. He's ready to leave. We should fire him. He is not dedicated to the team. I saw that a lot on X today, and I just want to say, if you are the people that are putting this around, you're not smart. You're not a smart person. You're lazy as all fuck, because it's just clickbaity, dumb bullshit. And I don't think you're an intelligent human being. And I say that with the utmost disrespect. You're stupid.
Well, and
Don't
it doesn't help. It doesn't help that you have national media writing reports of that. Well, there's some truth to this whole the Vikings might trade Kevin O'Connell. Like, there's some disagreements going on over the contract.
Oh, you mean like dumb shit fuckhead Mike Florio, who said we're going to trade for fucking Matt Stafford in the middle of the year?
Yes.
He'll probably be all aboard the Aaron Rodgers comes to Minnesota and redoes the Brett Favre 2.0 thing, too, in a couple of months.
You had said something earlier about people just writing stuff and just bullshit takes for clicks.
Yeah.
And this is all this is. Kevin O'Connell he's not leaving Minnesota. The Wilps are not trading him. He's not unhappy with the team. There is a 0% possibility of anything other than him getting a long-term contract extension.
He still might win Coach of the Year. You understand? Like, I know it's a regular season award.
Like,
it didn't go very well at the end, but
Dan Campbell,
Casey and Kevin O'Connell will both get extensions this offseason. It's going to happen.
and they should. They should. They deserve it. They both deserve it. Kevin O'Connell deserves it. I'm a little less on Kwesi. His drafting.
That kind of a take, it's not interesting. It's not going to get you any attention.
No, I know that, but that's the thing is, and it's deeply like I don't know why my brain has to dissect literally everything down to the atom, the ATOM, not ADAM. See that, but it's such a product of short-lived like social media, Instagram, TikTok generation we're in, where it's like I need something now, I need it to be the best thing ever, and I need to be famous for it, and then I need to live off of that kind of shit immediately forever. And it comes down to all this is. Like, it's like prepubescent teenage behavior where all you do is just act off emotion and it's just to get a reaction out of people. And, like, the guys you should trust are like Kevin Seifert over at the Vikings. He did a piece on it today. He's like, I don't even know why I'm reporting on this shit, but here are literal stills from 2023 and today. Like, relax, people. And he has to come address to tell people to stop that. Like, stop being fucking lazy. Stop. You're just lazy and you're stupid. Don't do that.
I mean, I can cap this discussion off pretty easy and tell you where it's coming from. So Facebook is under extra scrutiny right now for a multitude of reasons. And one of the things that's kind of came out is that you're getting leaked internal documents from Facebook about how the algorithm favors negative posts. If you put a negative post up, it gets more interaction and more comments than what a positive post does. So, of course, these people are going to write that there's a schism between Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings when there's not. There's no grain of truth to it. But they're fighting the algorithm and trying to get pushed to the front, just like what everyone else is with all that BS. And
I mean, I'm not Negan, so I don't know how true any of that is. There might be something going on. Who knows? I don't. But from the outside looking in, I don't see any evidence of anything.
You know what, Kyle, to your point too, just and not, to make this political, but like not the political how you guys are thinking, since that's coming up soon. Like, I'm not talking presidential political, but this is how the news is. The news is just negative bullshit all the time, and that's partly why I don't listen to anything. I haven't watched a news channel in decades because it just bums me the fuck out. And every time I get on Twitter, I see it because I'm in the Vikings algorithm. I just see, and thankfully now it's kind of catered to people like myself who I'll make like sarcastic remarks about. I'll like retweet something stupid that somebody says and be like, no, this is actually really dumb. Here's why. Just try to be less of an idiot. And that's kind of like my whole shtick on Twitter. But man, is it just full of like, I was about to name drop that one page. I had to unfollow them. It's like, it's so dumb. It literally is just clickbait bullshit. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night with yourself knowing like, I'm just going to wake up, not put any effort into any thought, and just like, I need attention. You're basically like an internet whore showing your cleavage out here. No offense. But you're just like, hey, I'm going to show my not smart brain to everyone. And look at me. I get all this attention. It's like, but you don't have any
And it
talent.
gets even worse now that Facebook has dropped fact-checking. I mean, I've seen articles being shared by everybody like, oh, well, congratulations, Jared Allen, on getting in the Hall of Fame. It's like, Jared Allen didn't get in the Hall of Fame.
Yep, he's a finalist, but nope, not in yet.
But I will say congratulations to Jim Kleinsasser getting in the college, or what is it, Iowa Hall of Fame?
Nice.
Football Hall of Fame?
I don't remember if it's the College Football Hall of Fame, but it's one of them. It's a really cool story, though. I like Jim Kleinsasser. Back when tight ends were tight ends and not just big wide receivers.
Right.
He actually played the old school tight end position, go out there and block and get about 3 catches a season.
I'm not sure which Hall of Fame he went in, but no matter what it was, good on him.
Don't you love that old tight end position of like 25 to 30 years ago where they could also double as a fullback?
I used to love those bruisers. They might even like when they used to transfer them in and use them as a fullback at times just because they were that good of blockers. These days, the receiving tight end has taken priority, and we're seeing guys like, don't get me wrong, Kyle Pitts can catch passes so well when he can.
Can he? Can he, though?
Is he going to get out there and block? Not really.
That'd make Kyle Smith choke over there.
I was about to say, I've yet to see that he's like consistent enough to do that, but sure, that's a good 4th overall pick, Atlanta. Good for you. I want to go back and see who they passed up or who they could have had after that. Kyle Pitts draft class. This will be fun.
Jim,
I'm sure Falcons.
Jim Kleinsasser has been elected to the 2025 NFF College Football Hall of Fame. I don't know what that is. Let's click on the article.
I'm not sure either, but it's pretty awesome for him.
Sorry, it's so dark over here. I've been on dark mode, and when I click out of it, now we're back. So this is who the Falcons. Literally the next pick. Jamar Chase, number 5 to the Bengals. Holy shit. Penei Sewell to the Lions. Patrick Surtain to the Broncos. Devontae Smith, Eagles. Micah Parsons. Rashawn Slater. Holy shit.
I remember how much Adam wanted Penei Sewell to the Vikings.
Christian Darrisaw.
Boy, that would have helped our line.
Oh my God. They could have had Gregory Rousseau as a good DN. They could have had all these great picks. Holy crap.
And they really needed an edge rusher at that point, so I was surprised when they went tight end.
They fucked that up so bad. Oh, it's so good. Wow. There's a lot of good players. Wow, that's crazy.
Well, we're talking about, like, just random stuff. I did see that Ryan Grigson, is the executive assistant from Minnesota, is getting an interview for GM somewhere. I don't remember where, but
I believe it was the Jets. I think it's the Jets.
He's been in Minnesota for a long time. A long time.
I saw him, and we mentioned Flores. He's had 3. He's scheduled to have 3 interviews: Jets, Bears, and Jaguars. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, and who's our QB coach? I'm drawing a blank on.
Josh
McCown. His name's been tossed out a little bit.
I do think, like I've said on this show many times, defensive coaches I don't think are going to get as many head coaching opportunities in this league as offensive-minded guys, just because of the way the league works these days. I really think teams are going to lean towards those guys that can help the offenses, help young quarterbacks grow and develop. I think those are going to be the guys.
And it 100% makes sense, Adam. I mean, if you're the Chicago Bears, do you want a defensive head coach? Or do you want do you want a head coach who can come in and develop Caleb Williams, who has shown flashes, I think, in his rookie season that he can play in the NFL, and he just needs that coach. He needs that Kevin O'Connell style coach who can just help him mold and develop him.
Just gonna say that he would love to have Kevin O'Connell as his coach, and I get it. I get it. I'm with you too. I don't know if they are going to lean that way. I think they should, like you said. I don't want that guy from Detroit to go because Caleb Williams he's a good quarterback, man. Like you saw this year, it's not necessarily his fault. They have to build around him. But for Brian Flores, it's another one too. Like I was trying to say this, and I caught up on my words just now. I'm 50-50 on him. I like what he's done for the team. I see with signing good players, it can be very good. But he and Kevin O'Connell, both at the same time in this juncture of their careers in the NFL, not just with the Vikings, they both have 2 glaring areas of weakness that they really haven't figured out yet. One of them I have here on the screen. Anyone else unhappy with Flores calling cover 0 when Stafford was killing us on blitz? Absolutely. That pressure rate works well on younger quarterbacks. On the guys that really need to be held down, you have to do a lot more zone, and you have to do a lot more man. You have to trust your man. I don't know if they have that personnel to do that as much.
But Flores was throwing everything at them, the whole kitchen sink. So I don't blame him for trying anything. You
can't do that with guys that are upper echelon, like elite tier of quarterbacks, as they'll pick you apart. They get the ball out too fast, and I don't like that for him. I think that's his one chink in the armor, his weakness. And then for Kevin O'Connell, he put it up earlier. Andrew did. And I've seen it all over X all day. There's not a lot of stuff over the middle, not a lot of slants. You got to figure out your thing that you need to be better at, and that's the frustrating part about this loss. As we can kind of transition into the game, is the like I said earlier, the blueprint was laid out by Detroit, and as soon as we drew the Rams and lost that game, I told you guys in the chat, especially to Kyle, I said this is over with. They're not going to win this game.
And the great thing is that Matthew Stafford's a magical quarterback that can throw passes without even looking where the pass is going. He can shovel it, and it's all good.
It's funny that people in Detroit turned on him so quickly, and it's like
I am still mad at that play. I don't know how that was an incomplete pass. There was no intention behind that pass at all.
What I don't understand, Adam, is if you were an NFL quarterback, every single time your almost getting sacked or in the process of getting sacked, can't you just take the ball and like spike it to the ground? And it's an incomplete pass.
As long as there's a receiver somewhere there.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone in the area in front of you. Like, that's such horseshit.
Did you guys see the Manning cast call that where Bill Belichick was talking about it?
Yeah, I did.
He did not like that one bit.
It's pretty funny because we look at it now and it's like, I saw somewhere on Twitter about that. They were like, man, this changed the game. And it's like, it wouldn't have mattered. Vikings weren't going to win this game. Yeah, you'd like to see the officiating not ever be in question, but it's not. They weren't going to win this game.
I disagree with you a little bit in that that's an area that you could have built positive momentum
Sure.
for the Vikings, and like you get that call reversed and it's just deflating to the whole team.
No,
let's be honest, the Rams are probably the second worst team Minnesota could have drawn in the playoffs. I'm going to say the Eagles were the worst, but the Rams were definitely up there. And anytime you got the head coach taking on his mentor, that's never good.
Right.
Well, to your point, Kyle, I believe you. I believe the momentum would have been good, but you lost it. This is the craziest thing ever. The craziest thing, and it was a meme or like a stat meme or some shit about that earlier this week, but never in the history of the NFL has a 14-win team had to go on the road. They get bounced in the wild card. They're the first.
Yep.
By the way, Minnesota has the most playoff losses now in NFL history. Have nothing to show for it. So that's fucking embarrassing. 32, which is mind-boggling. But they've only lost to 2 teams the entire season. They had 2 chances at 2 teams, and they lost all 4 matchups. Yeah. And that, to me, like, I don't care how shitty your quarterback plays. I don't care how many passes are dropped. I am very first turning to the coaches and saying, what in the fuck did you not do correctly?
And what was funny is Brian Flores before that game was like, we weren't ready for Puka Nacua to be active. We're gonna be ready this time. They're not gonna catch us. Guess what? You got caught.
Yeah.
It's bad. And you know what? They're kind of built similarly. It's like they've nailed a draft in a row, not 2 or 3 like Detroit has. They got a good quarterback. They got a good run game. They got a great coach. I said it, man. I hate it. I'm not some savant. This is all basic knowledge, but you're right, Adam. Detroit, Philly, and LA were the worst matchups for this team possible. And it's just it. I don't know. Maybe it would have changed if they were in Minnesota, if that whole like playoff seeding thing was like wins count to get who gets a home game. Maybe. Could have been a bad environment, but it's a bad matchup for the team.
Here is kind of what I think of the 2024 Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to make an old school, like, Saturday Night Live reference here. So the 2024 Minnesota Vikings are like they're the not ready for primetime players is kind of that team. Where, like, they are better. Like, the Minnesota Vikings are better than about half the league right now. That's how they were able to win 14 games. But you put them in that upper echelon of like NFL talent, NFL teams, where they have to go against the Eagles, the Rams, those kinds of teams right now. They are not ready to compete on that level just yet.
Yep.
They still
have.
And
if you're on social media and you say anything positive about the Vikings, they're just gonna say, "Well, look at the schedule; they didn't beat anybody."
I always love that argument. They came out now, they're like, the Packers and the Vikings are frauds. They got to play the AFC South. And it's like, okay, well, next year we'll just choose who we play and we'll rearrange the schedule. Just let me know how that works and we'll do that.
You play who you play, and there's so much turnaround in the NFL.
And to that point, Kyle, let's flip it the other way. Imagine if they had lost to these shitty teams, what you would say.
Right?
You can't fucking win either way with comments like that. Well, they had an easy schedule. They don't control the schedule, you fucking idiot. That's like yelling at me for being white. I had no fucking choice in the matter. What do you mean?
Didn't Minnesota have like 6 games against playoff teams as well? I mean...
No, Adam, those don't count. That doesn't fit the narrative of how shitty the team is.
Oh, okay.
It's only they're bad, and if you try to defend them, it's whatever. It's like, let me go into the positives for the year for Darnold. Well, he's a fluke. Like New York Jets, Sam Darnold came out. Okay. At the beginning of the year, Vegas had this team winning 6.5 games. Explain that.
It is definitely concerning, though, that Sam Darnold, as soon as the stage got big and stuff got on the line, he's the same guy.
Oh, yeah, he shit in his hands and clapped, as my favorite saying is. He definitely did. But Hey, you know what? That's most of the NFL. Like most of the team. That's the thing that I hate the most about this argument. Well, they need to fire Kevin O'Connell. He's soft and blah blah blah. It's like, hey, 31 coaches every year don't win the Super Bowl, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Are you going to fire all of them too? You know what it would be, and I'm going to make a very bold comparison here. I'm not saying he is this coach now or he will be in the future. I'm just giving an example of, damn, I bet that franchise feels like fucking dumb now. Philadelphia got rid of Andy Reid. And isn't that a fucking thank you for breaking up with me kind of relationship?
Here's the thing, though. Does Andy Reid win a Super Bowl if he stays with the Eagles? No. I think it took him to
I think he
leave
does.
that-
If it
I
lined
don't
up,
think he does, dude.
listen. Listen. If they have the same GM they have now, he's doing the same shit he's doing in Kansas City. They murder everybody.
I think it took him to leave and to go to another franchise and get that fresh start and
100%
just, like,
agree. 100%
start
agree.
over with it.
And I know
Can
I'm
you guys help me for a
cherry-picking-
second? Because I don't understand why Steelers fans want Mike Tomlin out.
I do.
It's the same thing that happened with Marvin Lewis with the Bengals. There's only so long that you can stick with a coach and not win in the playoffs before your fan base just gets frustrated and tired of it, and you're ready for a change. You're
I'll tell
ready
you
for
why.
something different.
I'll tell you why, Adam. And you can not agree with me or whatever, but I'll tell you exactly what it is, what it nails down to. Yes, he won a Super Bowl with them. Yes, he went to another one, I think, again, with Roethlisberger or whatever. And they lost to the Packers that year. But for the last decade, that team has been the literal definition of insanity. They try to do the same thing every year and hope for a different outcome. You can't do that. Why would you draft Kenny Pickett in the first round? Nobody thought he was a first-round quarterback. At the most important position, you're like, we'll scrape the bottom of the barrel. The rest of the team's good enough. It's like, you're not the fucking Ravens with Trent Dilfer, dude. You're not.
So why did the drafting fall on Tomlin?
I don't know why the drafting would fall on him. I know the coaching of
It's his
these
team,
players.
but yeah, I mean, you have to just assume that
Was
it's
he
his
pounding
team.
the table for him or something? Or
He's got to be on some level. He's got to be signing off on for this is my guy. This is
Well,
who
he
I
also
want.
has a big say on who comes in the team to run for his OC or whatever. Having Arthur Smith and going out to get Russell Wilson and Justin. Why would you take Justin Fields for anything more than a backup role?
You know what's crazy about Mike Tomlin though? Mike Tomlin could be Andy Reid, where he leaves and goes to another team and probably wins them a Super Bowl.
this is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think
Yeah.
Tomlin's a bad coach. I just think
He's
he
not.
needs a good situation around him, and he's proven in the past he can get it done. But this is what have you done for me lately? And league. And
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of my point, Adams. I don't think he's a bad coach either. My point is, I know why Steelers fans want him out, and it's not a what have you done for me lately. It's, he hasn't done shit in a decade. That team has done fuck all in a decade. I don't care that he has, we have a winning record every year. Okay, so you finish at 500. That's not good.
Yeah, so you're Jeff Fisher.
That's not
Like,
funny.
you're-
That's
you're-
nothing. That's the craziest shit I ever heard about a Steeler. Any news for the Steelers? Like, well, he has a winning record every year, and that means what?
I mean, I
can
guess that's
win-
kind of the equivalent to the Minnesota run it back kind of stuff.
It is, and that's why I
That-
get
hey.
frustrated because it's that revolving door of mediocrity that drives people insane. And I get it, you nail it with guys on defense, like Alex Highsmith. Shout out to him. He's a Charlotte, North Carolina area kid.
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt is great. They had Minka Fitzpatrick at one point.
Yeah.
They always have good defense. Not so much George Pickens is okay. He wants out of there, which is hilarious. But they don't do certain things, and they are like the Vikings a little bit. They neglect certain areas over and over and over, and it's like I kind of understand it because at some point you're screaming as a fan that just kind of sort of pays attention, like, can you fix the shit that's been broken for 5 years? And they're like, we'll get to it, man. It's on the it's on the list.
our offensive line. Can we finally fix our
Yes!
offensive line? Adam, you brought up a real good point right there. A real good segue of something that I wanted to bring up. So it's funny how we're year 4 into the new regime, which we can't really call it the new regime anymore. They're just the current regime for the Vikings. But so in the past, I could sit here right now and tell you what Rick Spielman would do after a 14-win Minnesota Vikings team. You're bringing the band back together, cue the NWO music, we're we're too sweet, we're Wolfpack, we're bringing every single guy back to this roster. I don't know how the Vikings are going to approach this in 2025. I don't think the right mentality is to get the band back together. We need to keep Sam Darnold. We need to re-sign everyone leaving needs to come back and do it. Like, I think you have to take a hard look at this roster and figure out how to get better.
Well, let's be honest. We already know some players that probably aren't coming back. I would be shocked if Stephon Gilmore returns to the Vikings. Shocked.
Kyle, to your point, before we get to Stephon Gilmore, I just want to echo that and say the good thing about this team in this coming up year, I don't think they can do that. I think they have to have a lot of turnover because they're going to have money, but they don't have enough to keep. Even if they want to do that, they can't keep everybody. Harrison Smith's finally going to retire. I fully believe it. If you watched his facial expressions in that last game, dude, he's like, even the way he said, like, his wording was like, man, I had to go thank every single person in the locker room. It's like, well, you don't. I know you probably do that at the end of every year, but why are you telling us that now?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's very, like, it's looking heavily majority that he's retired, but just to the point so we can talk about Gilmore's, you're going to lose a guy like that. Like Adam mentioned earlier, I think the biggest thing that the team needs to address is the interior offensive line. Yes, Adam, I'm with you. I think we can find a running back in round 2 or 3 or wherever they need to find.
We don't have a round 2.
I am not objecting to a $7 million for Aaron Jones to return. I'm not objecting to that.
I'm not objective, but I'm not going to die that he stays with the Vikings for another year. Maybe youth would be better. I don't know. I don't have anything against him, but maybe you could go.
I'm okay with pushing that down to another next year's draft, maybe not this year's.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that running back. What the fuck's his name? Marty Jannetty. It's not Marty Jannetty.
But yeah, I think going back to what we were just saying is the cornerback, the defensive backs room as a whole is a huge glaring need. I also saw it today that Jared Alexander might be a free agent, and I would oppose to him being a purple. I don't want him coming here. He's injured as fuck all the time. No.
That's going to be $22 million a year, pretty much in that area. And
no, absolutely not, dude. No, I can't do it.
And don't get me wrong, Stephon Gilmore, he was Defensive Player of the Year back in the day, but that was back in the day.
2019.
If we're being brutally honest, I really don't want Shaq Griffin back. I thought that there was a game or two that he played pretty well, but I'm not spending a lot of money to bring Shaq Griffin back on this defense. You can go.
It's kind of like the whole Patrick Peterson thing. He was great for the locker room. He was wise. He helped people learn.
Right.
But when he was on the field, he did not look like the Patrick Peterson that we knew.
And I understand why they made a lot of those signings, because it truly was a patchwork defense hey, we don't have a lot of young guys we believe in, so we're going to invest heavily in veteran players who can step in and run this defense. But you've got to move on from them. I don't want to do the keep them around
because Minnesota seems like they were trying to get youth in there to do their thing, but it just hasn't worked out. I did love how every game this season they set up that locker with Kyrie Jackson and put a jersey in there and really honored him all season long. That was great.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to say, too, we were just talking about it, and maybe I'm losing it now. Damn it. I got distracted by the Kyrie Jackson thing, man. It's still sad. It's cool that they
pile on Gilmore for.
No, I didn't have anything to pile on him. It was something to do with the draft. No, I'll come back to it.
The fact that we only got 3 draft picks is concerning.
Well, Minnesota isn't.
I remember what it was. It was Dallas Turner. I see a lot of that on Twitter too. It's like, I can't. It's a travesty he didn't play. It's like, you want him to play ahead of Grenard or Van Ginkel?
You did.
No.
Yeah, I did an article on the biggest disappointments, and I had to include him because when he was drafted, everybody was like, oh, he could be Defensive Player of the Year. But the only disappointing thing about him is that Minnesota couldn't find time to get him on the field.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I'm glad that he had a slow rotational, maybe less than what you see, because that's part of the reason they're out of picks is they went up to get him. But he's not at all a bust. He just has to have more of a chance to play.
I know we're having more off-season discussion than game discussion here, but
I
I
want
don't
to
want
get you
to talk
guys'
about that
thoughts
game.
on Pat Jones. Do the Vikings try to bring him back? Do teams pay him like a starting edge rusher? What's going on with him, do you think?
What's so difficult is that right now I really have to know who the defensive coordinator is for
Yeah.
the Minnesota Vikings
Yes.
before I can sit here and be like, yeah, you got to bring this guy back, because that's I don't know who's the coordinator. What system are we running?
Because Pat Jones is coming off a career year. Would he have 7 sacks as a backup
Career year,
rotational guy?
Remember when DJ Wanham was doing kind of the same thing, and then he
Yeah.
ended up leaving. I'm totally with Kyle on this. It's okay. You had a career year because Flores' defense had year 2, and it was great. Have you had this before? Even before when he was here, he was a good rotational piece. But I'm with you, man. I got to know who's going to be here if he's going to fit, and I ultimately we have to know what's the salary for this guy, because he'll get offers on a bunch of other teams. Because what's crazy is like you have these 3 tiers of free agents or 4. One is like, okay, Patrick Mahomes is on the market. Everybody's like, blank check, we'll figure it out. Like everybody's in. That's tier 1,
yeah.
right? Tier 2 is like, okay, it's TJ Watt. It's a Hall of Famer probably, but he's probably not going to every team because not every team's going to either give up the capital or have the cap space. And then you have this giant pool of tier 3 guys. It's like, well, fuck, we could use him. He's all right. Go see what he wants. Call his agent. And it's like a lot of teams can be on this guy because he's affordable. I think Patrick Jones is affordable. I think most of us would say that, but I'm with you, Kyle. I don't know who's going to be here at defensive coordinator next year. I don't know.
Here, and Adam, I feel like you're going to disagree with me on this a little bit, but what really scares me is a player like Cameron Bynum, who, if Brian Flores is my defensive coordinator, yeah, you can sign Cam Bynum to a long-term contract and keep him around. But if Flores leaves, dude, I'm not signing Cam Bynum to a big money contract, because I don't know if another coordinator is going to be able to use him like the same way that Brian Flores has done. So to me, that
You're
really
completely
determines.
right, because I'm the same way even with Josh Metellus.
Yeah.
If Brian Flores goes somewhere else, is Josh Metellus going to be anywhere near the same kind of player he was in the last few years?
I don't know how to answer that.
That's a good one. I love this. Andrew, is this your version of rage bait? I need to know. This is a great comment. If it is trolling, I give you the comment of the day for this. Skull, Jonathan, to you and Charlotte, thank you for always being here. Definitely no. Definitely no to what, Sergio? Please let us know.
Definitely no to everything.
Definitely
Yeah,
no.
fire everyone and start over. Yep, that's what we're going to do.
Vikings? No.
Yeah. I'm with Kyle. I don't want to talk about this game. I didn't get to watch this game. I was having network issues anyways. But
I sadly watched the whole thing.
I was very happy I didn't. I rolled over in bed and finally checked it when it was over, and I was like, that's exactly how I thought it was going to go. And, yeah, it's funny. Whatever. I kind of thought this would happen after the Detroit game because the blueprint was laid out. But going forward, I think to very quickly review it is I think we got our answer pretty concisely on the Sam Darnold thing. I think we kind of agree now. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were like, fuck it. We'll tag Sam for a year. Maybe he'll get a 2 or 3 year deal. It turned around so fast. Now, I think we pretty heavily believe it's going to be J.J. McCarthy next year, and that's fine. Yeah. I'm willing to see. But now comes all those questions that we weren't ready because we thought we were going to have in a few weeks. We thought the Vikings would still be in it, or at least have a chance to be in it, instead of such a piss-poor showing. But now we got to ask those questions of, well, who all's leaving? Players and coaching personnel, because that's going to shape the team going forward. What I can say personally, just for me, and I think both of you agree because I know you guys, but any of these people saying that Kevin O'Connell wants to leave or should leave, I think you really need to reassess everything you think about the team and question whether you actually like this team or not. Because all it is just an emotional knee-jerk thing. I'm mad that the team lost too. I don't watch this team because I have nothing better to do. I would pick a different team if that were the fucking case. But I want them to win too, but they didn't. They played poorly and they deserve to lose. But to sit here and be like 14 wins doesn't mean anything, and you're disregarding the totality of his time here. 3 years ago, he had 3 seasons. 13 wins, quarterback tears his Achilles, 7 wins, 14 wins. Outside of a fucking catastrophic year, dude knows what he's doing 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Unless Andy Reid or fucking whoever else you think is the best coach outside of Andy Reid, unless they're out there and you can upgrade, and you know you're going to upgrade, not not the draft where it's like I'm getting rid of a player and I'm going back to the lottery to hope I get another good player. I need a surefire, like, this dude's a Hall of Fame coach. We have to go get him now. I'm good with keeping Kevin O'Connell. He's all right, and he's very young. And what I didn't like today, and I'm shutting up there for this, but what I didn't like today on Twitter, and I had to call a person out because it was the dumbest thing I've read in weeks. They're like, I don't like this fake, like, nice guy persona. First of all, you don't know the dude personally, so you're a fucking idiot for saying that. And I truly, with all the disrespect in the world, shut the fuck up. 2, have you not seen how much the fucking players ooze their adornment for him? You could tell in Zimmer's last year, people were like, the locker room kind of fucking sucks. I can't really say that, but it kind of sucks. Everybody there's like, bro, I love playing here. Look at Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is like, I'll gladly come to your team. I heard it's fucking awesome there. And now he said it's great. To tell me that you don't want Kevin O'Connell back really makes me question whether you actually like the team or not. Because, yeah, they didn't finish how do you think the players feel? They didn't want to lose this game. But he's doing everything right. The thing that I worry about is you kind of had this wild nucleus of, like, great quarterback coach, pretty good schedule, great defensive coordinator. And now it's like, are you going to repeat that again next year with less draft picks and a harder schedule? And a rookie QB? I don't think.
Now, you did mention Mike Zimmer, and I do want to bring up that he has mentioned that he is contemplating retirement this offseason.
You probably should do more than contemplate.
Oh, he is getting married. Did you guys see that?
I did. And I did see his wife, and she is the looker.
Smoking young bride-to-be. Listen, for as much of an asshole as he was personally to everyone, I don't like him because I think he was beyond. He was unnecessarily mean to people, which is probably his nature. But you always have to throw the caveat in there with Mike Zimmer. Dude's been through some shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
His wife died, his son died, and he almost lost his fucking eyeball. Like, I kind of get that he's an ornery bastard. I don't agree with him, but I'd be like, man, he's been through the fucking ringer. I think retirement would suit him well. And just for that, now I'm going to look and see what he earned in his career.
He has well-deserved time sitting on his ranch, relaxing, time with his family. He's earned all that.
I want to see how much money he made.
Mike Zimmer going to Vikings Ring of Honor. You put him in the Ring of Honor.
Oh, that'd be funny. What did he earn? So he's 68 years old. Nice.
No, Andrew, I didn't see that one.
No, that's not a real thing.
That can't
Andrew,
be
is
it.
it?
That can't be real.
What's the quote? You gotta find the quote.
Breading being too soft. Please find that and send that to us. I want to read that.
Yeah,
if that's anything like that interview that he absolutely didn't have to do, but he made public, please let me know.
That interview was fantastic. I forgot about that. That was good shit. That's free entertainment, dude.
Over the Cap has Mike Zimmer career earnings. Yeah, that's definitely not correct. $18,000. Cool.
No wonder he's angry all the time.
I did that too.
I'd be pretty pissed too.
No, and whatever net worth, salary $4 million. It's got to be more than that. His ranch is crazy. I wish that it was public record. You don't know that. It's kind of a secret. All right, well, yeah. Send a screenshot if I could. Yeah, if you have it, send it to our messenger there on Facebook or whatever. Or if you have us personally, send it over there. I think we covered a lot of bases, man. A disappointing loss. The season sucks in that way. I truly don't believe, even if they somehow won, I don't think that this team would have gotten out of the divisional round. Philly's a terrible matchup. On the road is a terrible matchup. And it's going to be fucking cold there. I know I shouldn't say this to the guys that live in Michigan and Iowa, but like here in Richmond the last week, it was so cold here. It's so bad. It froze to where we had the water treatment facility of like the main part of town. It froze. 5 days this place didn't have water. And I can't imagine 4 hours, 5 hours north in Philly, it's going to be warmer. So the conditions in Philly are going to be real bad. If they'd won, they'd go to Detroit. I don't think they'd pull some miracle where they won the very last, most important meeting with Detroit. So either way, those are terrible matchups.
2 nights ago here, we hit negative 18.
Ooh, that's fucking brutal.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that sucks. I don't know. It was a terrible game. They played pretty badly. I think we answered the Sam Darnold question. I don't know if he comes back as a Viking. I think it's pretty much up in the air because it's not official yet, but I think it's leaning heavily.
It's weird because there can be 2 answers to that question. Do the Vikings re-sign Sam Darnold? Maybe. Mm-hmm. Is he the Vikings quarterback in 2025? I don't think so.
I think so. I think it's time to get the training wheels off from McCarthy. Maybe that inadvertent injury, accidental redshirt year was a blessing in disguise. We'll see.
Now, I'm not sure what Minnesota will do for a veteran backup.
That'll be interesting.
There are options out there. There's plenty of guys that could come in and play that role. But I don't think they're going to pay Sam Darnold to be that guy. And honestly, I think Daniel Jones, I think he's going to get paid a little bit too much to do that too. So who knows?
Right. Well, I think you're right, man. The Daniel Jones thing could turn into the comp pick. We'll see what happens with Sam and all that. Situation's very unique. I think Sam played himself out of the backup role at least for a few more years. He definitely brought his value down of like the fives, per year, starting at 50 or whatever. But he's got to fit somewhere for like a Baker Mayfield, like 2 years guaranteed, like $75 million or $80 million. I think that's perfect for him. Where would he go? I think the best fit for him is to stay in Minnesota, but I think if they're going to move forward and go with J.J. McCarthy, you kind of have to be like, well.
People forget the NFL is a business, and these owners, do you really think every year they expect to win the Super Bowl? To be honest, no, they don't. They want to sell game tickets and a lot of jerseys. Some of these owners will be perfectly fine with Sam Darnold coming in and winning them 14 games and selling some tickets and selling some jerseys and selling some false hope and getting knocked out of the wild card. So yes, he will be signed to a larger contract to another team in this offseason. Like, that's definitely going to happen.
One thing a lot of fans don't think about is that these NFL GMs that are signing these players, they are playing for their jobs every year.
Yep.
When they see a guy that can bring them in and get them 9-10 wins after a 6-7 win season, they're like, hey, I can bring this guy in and he can extend my career by 2-3 years.
That's a good point.
And I don't blame them one bit for doing that. Is it going to get their team a Super Bowl? No. Is it going to get their team a franchise quarterback? No. Is it going to keep them employed? Oh, yeah.
It's what Spielman did with Kirk Cousins.
Sergio has a great question, and I think it only works for literally less than a handful of teams. Can Darnold have a winning season with another team? Instead of paying Brock Purdy 50-plus.
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going to go.
I would. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I call him right now and say, hey, buddy, $40 million guaranteed for 3 years. Come on over. We're kicking Brock Purdy to the curb. He'll have a market. We want to go a little cheaper so we can give you guys like Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and all these guys. We'll try to do the best we can to give you more weapons like Minnesota, but the team, the place. Like, come on over. That's what I would say. I still think his best fit, coaching wise and personnel wise, is here. But this goes to Justin's thing. He says, I'd franchise tag him. If you franchise tag Sam Darnold and you don't trade him, you're telling J.J. McCarthy he's not starting next year, even though it should be a competition because he's healthy and you spent a first-round draft pick on him. You're telling him he's not the starter because why would you pay a not starter $40 million a year? That doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that to you like condescendingly, Justin. I'm just saying out loud for conversation. That's what the message is. I know the Titans need a quarterback. I know the Steelers probably need a quarterback. The Raiders definitely need a quarterback. So those are some teams. New York Giants need a quarterback. The Jets need a quarterback. I don't know where he would go that he would think would be better than the Vikings, not named the San Francisco 49ers. Because all those other teams are pretty hot garbage.
I know we haven't mentioned it quite yet, but the Minnesota Vikings hold the number 24 pick in the NFL draft.
That's right, Adam. I had that on the brain, and I didn't bring that up. 24th overall. Thank you. I hate it. I wish they were like 14th, but that means the season wouldn't have been nearly as fun. We have to think about that, and I'm sure after the pissed offness wears off from this game and the playoffs, they had a 5-game winning streak, 2 losses, and then a 9-game winning streak, which is crazy. That's very hard to do. Not a bad year, but man, that sucks. A lot of good talent's going to be off. I'll tell you one thing: they're not trading up this year in the draft because they literally can't. So
they don't have.
This was a very entertaining year for the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm glad I got to enjoy it. But
correct,
I wasn't expecting anything like this, and the fact that it ended so shortly in the playoffs, I am not going to be a hater about it. I'm not.
We have to call a spade, man. It's a shout out to Detroit and respect to their team. That's 4 games in a row in 2 years. They've whooped the Vikings, and I get that the one in Minnesota this year came down to it close, but in the clutch moments, they've outplayed the Vikings every single time for the last 2 years. It's consecutive now. It's not like You know that one year the Bears went with Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs? It's like, well, shit, the Bears won the division? That's weird. It's not a fluke, man. The Lions are for real, and they look like a force to be reckoned with for years to come.
But things happen. I mean, look, Jordan Love doesn't own the pack or own the Bears anymore.
It's true. I wonder if they regret paying him now. Isn't that crazy that quarterbacks can get like generationally changing, like multi-generation, lifetime changing money for playing 12 good games of football?
It is. It's pretty wild.
Looking at you, Sam. You can go get that money. By the way, I just want to put this out there. I said it to some people on the old Twitter machine. Don't feel bad for Sam Darnold financially. Motherfucker's made $65 million in his career. And up until this year, he hasn't done much of anything to, like, it's crazy. Yeah, he's better than all of us could ever be on a football field. Like, we shouldn't even have one cleat on an NFL field. That's how bad we are. But I don't feel bad for him. It's like, well, he played himself out of money. I feel like he's made $65 million. And we know what his career was up until this season. So he's going to be fine.
That's almost unlimited money.
That's a lot.
That's always the argument that I've made in favor of someone like Christian Ponder, where it's like, look, I know his NFL career sucked. Like, we've seen that firsthand go down. But you can't take away from the guy the fact that at one point he was one of the top 25, top 30 potential quarterbacks in the United States. Like, to get that opportunity to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, that means at one point he was really good at football. Did it work out? No, it didn't. But, like, these guys would absolutely dominate at a lower level. Like, if you put them in the UFL or anything, good Lord, would they just, like, tear that league apart.
Now, we'll have a lot more opportunities to talk offseason in the future, but it's kind of fun to look at this Vikings team the way it is right now and see some really good young pieces in place, some older players that are probably moving on, some new faces probably coming in. It's not a terrible time to be a Vikings fan.
I do want to echo this because I replied to Justin in the chat, but anybody that listens audibly, if you don't watch on YouTube, Justin Thomas is one of our regular listeners. Shout out to him. He said if we tag Sam, we could trade for players or picks. I don't know if they would do it, but it's possible. My retort to that is true, but then you eat almost half your cap space for next year. Right now, the Vikings have 70-some million. Top 51 cap space 2025, 77 million. So if you tag Sam, it's going to be around 40 to 42. I mean, that's half your salary gone.
Yeah, I think a sign and trade is more likely than a tag.
We'll see.
I think you just let him go in free agency.
But then you're capping your pick at a third round per compensatory pick.
I'm fine with that. Hey, thank you. You got us way further than what we thought we were going to get out of you. But you can. It's like when you have that pet that you don't want no more, and you drive into the middle of the country, you open the door, and you just let them run away. Like
Did you just old Yeller Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I 100% old Yeller.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
That's you go.
The best thing you have ever said in 10 years of doing this show with you. That is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Just drive Sam Darnold out to Kansas and open the door at 50 miles an hour and say, thank you.
Well, I mean, come on. What else do you do with him? Really?
That is amazing. No, wow. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Boo this man. That's so funny. Oh, man. I want to keep going, but I think the show ends right there. That is the funniest thing I have heard in years of doing this show with you.
Oh, yeah, we'll have a lot more time to talk off-season and wild stuff like this. And it's going to be an interesting offseason, so I hope you guys are buckled in and ready.
Adam, stall for like 20 seconds while I type your guys' banners out.
Oh,
shit. We are typing some banners in here. But we talked last week about who we were cheering for or hoping would win the Super Bowl. And I am still pretty firmly, I don't know why I'm in on the Ravens this year. I just love what they're doing. And I think last week, Mr. West said he was going to root for Cincinnati.
Yeah, then I realized they're not in the playoffs this year, so I should probably pivot off that one. I don't know. Buffalo, I like Josh Allen. I'll root
And I
for
do
Josh
think
Allen.
I do enjoy watching Commanders games. They're so much fun.
Yeah, that was cool that they beat Tampa Bay. I do like some Baker Mayfield in the playoffs. I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder anyways. But very cool that the Commanders won. I don't think they're going to stand a chance against the Eagles. Division rivals are bad. But you know what? That's a perfect reason for it to go sideways for Philadelphia. So
I mean, Washington beat them once already this year, didn't they?
they did, but Jalen Hurts didn't play that game. So he's coming back. It's in Philly. It's gonna be cold. I don't know. He is nice though, man. He's a good quarterback. I'm obviously rooting for them in that game.
That Ravens-Bills game is going to be so good.
I can't watch. I can't. This weekend is like the mecca for sports for me. Anytime this lines up this way, it's playoff football. College football championship is coming up soon. Even though it's not this weekend, it's close. So you get that looming, and then I have UFC this Saturday too. So like this Saturday, I know they said last weekend like, oh my God, we have this, this, and this. No, we get like actually good playoff games now. Divisional round football is always interesting. Really good matchups, and then I have UFC pay-per-view this weekend. So I'm so pumped for this weekend.
But is Jake Paul going to be fighting on Netflix? That's what I want to know.
I think the senior citizens are asleep this time of year, so he can't fight anyone now because they're still sleepy from Christmas. But maybe when the summertime comes around.
Tyson Fury just retired, so we got to wait another 5 years so that we can have that fight.
I would love to watch him give Jake Paul CTE. That would make my day. I wish that he would fight someone even remotely near his size. But that's not in his contract. You have to fight old people who aren't boxers that are smaller than you. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, I know the Super Bowl is like the biggest thing coming up, but the Royal Rumble on the February 1st, that's still what I'm looking at.
Nice.
I agree with Adam.
The Royal Rumble is always so special, so fun.
So much fun. Such a good pay-per-view. In a way, I think it's more fun than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like
I don't disagree with you one bit.
I love a good Royal Rumble.
But I do want to thank everyone here that joined us in because it's so much fun to see you guys. You can check out my work over on the Viking Age. You can check me out on social media at MNVikingZombie. I'm on TikTok. Who knows for how much longer, though. I am there.
Maybe 3 more days, I think.
But I'm also on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, you name it, I'm there. Just send me a message and we'll talk football, wrestling, horror movies, reality shows, whatever you want, we can talk it. I am there.
And there you go. I hate that this takes 20 minutes for a new banner to come up.
Yeah, the swiping is a little lengthy there.
Not my favorite, but
The transition, I guess is the word. And you can check out West stuff, wherever West is.
I don't know. I'm out there somewhere.
did I spell it right this time? I Googled it to make sure.
Vaguely Square. I am on Blue Sky, my social media platform of choice. You can give me a follow. Adam, you were posting something about them having some kind of Instagram app that might be kicking up here soon. I would sign up for that. I would use that one to share some of my photography work.
And I'll admit, I use Instagram quite a bit, and when I made the jump over to Blue Sky, I still go on X every once in a while, but I haven't been on there nearly as often. So maybe this alternative to Instagram might be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I would like it.
There's an alternative to Instagram?
Pretty soon, by the same people that did Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Now I feel like I'm the guy who uses Facebook, and Facebook is for boomers, and now Instagram's going to be for old people, and I'm not old yet, and I don't accept this. I haven't heard about that. I'm just overreacting for no reason. Yes.
And Kyle Smith also exists.
Yeah, I'm not plugging in
Maybe.
that stuff. When I have something of value to give you guys for social media, I'll let you know. It is in the works. I can't really do much for the music stuff at this point in time. Maybe February. I am working the Super Bowl again this year, so
You do look like you've gotten a little bit of sun.
I did. I won't say where I was, but I did have a nice little vacation. So
There you go.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I've got my music stuff in the works. I'm going to the Super Bowl, so not to give away information because I kind of can't do that, but I don't leave the day before and just arrive. I'm there prior, so yeah, I'm gonna be down in New Orleans for quite some time. So That's going to
And
take
if
away.
Kyle Smith stops being a jerk sometime soon, maybe we'll talk about another horror movie. Who knows?
We'll definitely do that. I did see yet another one. I think I told you about it. Man in the White Van. So I do have some ready to go if you want to talk about them. But
Oh,
if
I've
not,
been watching quite a few. Every night I'm watching something.
perfect. We'll get it done. I've been
But-
away from a computer, so sorry about that.
There you go. Take your time. Mental health is so important. Go and do your thing. Get feeling good. And that's what it's all about. Also, thanks again to everyone in the chat. We love having you guys here. This live format is really what it's all about. If we were recording this on Skype still, I would not be having nearly as much fun.
No.
Thank you for watching us struggle on here too on this new platform we're using. That is a lot of fun. I think we're finally getting it. Give us another month and we might have it down.
That's true. And I've got the quietest Viking horn ever. It is so quiet. We'll be back next week to talk about. But we'll be here. And in the meantime, stay classy,